YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic, and welcome back to another YouTube channel, everybody. I'm so excited to have you all back together again. And in today's video, we're talking about the finale episode of Secret Invasion. Now, before we talk about the finale of Secret Invasion, I just kind of want to talk about what were my thoughts going into this series before we actually talk about how the finale of this series played out. So, when they first announced Secret Invasion, I was like, oh, so you got a plot line where Skrulls are invading the Earth. Okay, that's cool. But then you remember, oh yeah, Captain Marvel, they confirmed that these Skrulls are good guys. So I'm like, how exactly are they going to do this? And then you realize, oh wait, it's kind of a simple story that there's a good version of Skrulls and there's a bad version of Skrulls. And you basically get that in this show, but then you also realize, oh wait, they're not going to be doing like... And then even when you look back at the story of Captain Marvel, that they were going to find the Skrulls a planet, but then like, why are they coming back to invade this one? It's because Fury never found a planet. Like, there's some interesting story through that, plus taking that tone of Winter Soldier and indicting that with this one, and creating a relationship with Nick Fury and the Skrulls. It's like, that's very interesting. It's like Captain Marvel opened up this part of this character that I never knew about. It's like, it's so interesting. I really dug all that. And then we get the first couple episodes. I think they're really good. I thought they really capture that tone really well, while at the same time kind of having some mixes of humor in the mix. But then you also just kind of explore the character of Nick Fury in different ways, with his relationship with the Skrulls, having a literal romantic relationship with one of the Skrulls in the show. Just all these unique things that happen in the show that I just thought was fantastic. Now let's just talk about the finale. I will say this, we'll talk about my final thoughts. Let's talk about the finale. So, we finally have the finale, and what can I say? It was good. Obviously, one of the things I've always heard when it comes to these shows is it's always these series that ends with a big finale where it starts out really good. Which, in my opinion, I thought that, after seeing Guardians 3, which I thought was so good, like, I thought it was possibly the best thing that the MCU had to offer since Endgame and No Way Home and Wakanda Forever. I thought it was one of the best things I've ever seen. So I'm like, there's no way that the MCU can't be bad after this. And then we get Secret Invasion, and I'm like, this is really good. I hope that it actually gets better and better and better. And you get the first two episodes, pretty good. Actually really good episodes in the tone. Get to the third episode, kind of overwhelming. The fourth episode is good, but not the best. And then you get the fifth episode, which I thought kind of won me back into it. And then we get this episode, and it's just kind of, it was good. It was okay. To state the obvious, I guess the first thing you gotta talk about here is Kingsley Ben-Adir's performance. I mean, him just yelling in Nick Fury's face as he's like, "You failed me! You should have kept your promise. You broke your promise. You never found us a planet. Everything, the destruction of the world, World War III, is all because of you!" Fantastic performance. And I think there is some interesting intrigue that happens through this episode where I guess it's just a simple fact as to the reason why there's a Secret Invasion is to like, wait, Skrulls are good guys. Oh yeah, Skrulls. There's good Skrulls and bad Skrulls. It's as simple as that. It's the same thing with Nick Fury not finding them a planet. They just didn't find a planet for them. So they thought the best way to keep his end of the bargain is to make a home for them on here. And so Gravik is like, why didn't you? And so Nick Fury is like, he thought it would be easier to save 8 billion lives than to change 8 million people's lives. And that's kind of one of the interesting things about this series, where we were first introduced to Nick Fury as this, like, great man, very, like, he knows almost everything. And in this show, that's kind of one of the things I love about this show, is that you just see the brokenness. That you see that he has character flaws. He's made mistakes. And you can kind of tell why this mission for him is so personal. Because this guy is threatening to plan to end the world, cause World War III, cause worlds between others. And it's so interesting and fantastic that I love that. And then we get, the reveal of the Skrull stuff, Rhodey gets shot, fake Skrull Rhodey. And then, of course, the whole big fight between Gaia and then you realize that it was actually Gaia all along. And then, they both get, like, every Avenger power. At first I'm like, this is kind of stupid. But, it's kind of like, this is basically what the comics did. They made Super Skrulls. You had characters fighting. I'm sure not another character didn't get the superpowers of that character. But you had a Skrull that had the powers of Fantastic Four. It's fine. So I accepted it. Even though it was kind of weird that, you had the Mantis powers, you had the Captain Marvel powers, you had the powers of Ebony Maw, Hulk, Groot, Abomination. It was kind of weird. Did it work? Was it kind of cheesy? Kinda, yeah. And then even when it gets into, like, when the president basically takes what Gravik wanted to do, he basically just makes it worse, as he basically World War III is still starting, but it's starting in a different way, as he's sending people to kill Skrulls, that, like, these big people, and then he's sending people to kill people that aren't actually even Skrulls. So, like, some of these big people could be Skrulls, and some of these people could just be literal innocent humans. And so you kind of start to wonder, like, that's kind of the interesting thing that sets up throughout all these other MCU projects, like, how are we going to resolve this? Because, in my opinion, while I love the way that the Civil War storyline, because that's kind of why the Civil War movie works so well for me, is because you have this big overarching thing, I think that Civil War does something that, I think it has flaws, but also issues that I have. On the one hand, with the way that it completes that story in the movie, you have the big event thing that happens is that the Avengers are now disbanded. They broke up. But it completes that story of Captain America, like, they maybe broke up, but I'm still gonna, no matter if you need me, I'm still gonna be there. But the biggest problem I have with it, or actually we'll talk about that when we get onto the bad, with this show, it's like, the big event is, like, what is the big event for the multiverse saga that splits up the world to cause our heroes to lose? That's likely going to lose because we're going to get 2 Avengers movies. It's World War III. And do I think that this completed Nick Fury's story? I guess you could say that Nick Fury finally he finally accepts his wife as who she is. I thought it was a great arc to do that. It was kind of a little weird to see him kiss a Skrull. It's kind of a little weird. Kind of cool to see him back in his official Nick Fury form, even though the beard kind of draws it out. Overall, I thought it had some good stuff in it. But yeah, that's my good thoughts on the episode. Now let's talk about the bad. So I think my biggest issue with this show, with this episode, and really the whole show, is once again, the runtime was too short, that they could not do much stuff. It's like, you set up this whole plot line of, like, honestly, one thing I really would have wanted with this series, like, I get that Gaia wanted to kill Fury, and everybody's complaining about, like, oh, Gaia is now the most overpowered person in the entire MCU. But let's be real here. Imagine if Nick Fury actually did go in there and he got every power of every Avenger. That would have been more stupid. As you took this guy that was barely skilled, he was more human, and you just gave him superpowers of every single Avenger from Endgame. It would have even been more stupid if Nick Fury got those powers. But they didn't do that. But yeah, and then of course, you know, like the whole starting of World War III, it's like I even heard someone's review saying that it set too much up for the future of the MCU. What do you mean? I think that's kind of a good thing considering of how many projects we're going to be getting. Like we're going to be getting like different featurettes of World War III in the MCU. I mean, sure, I think we should, if we're going to do World War III, we should get a whole film or a series just focusing on that and trying to resolve that. But I don't know. I don't really know. I think and going back to the World War III plot line, while I love the way the Civil War storyline played out, and you know it completes. The Avengers are broke up, but Steve Rogers says he'll always be there. You don't really get to see the actual effects. A story played out like that. Story continued, like the story of the Sokovia Accords continued in other films that came out after this. Like, you look at the films before Infinity War and Endgame, Doctor Strange. But even then, that film doesn't even focus on, you know, political stuff. Spider-Man Homecoming, Black Panther, not included Thor Ragnarok because it only has that moment with New York, Norway, and Doctor Strange. We get Infinity War, mentions the Sokovia Accords, mentions the Avengers broke up, and, you know, Rhodey and stuff like that. And really, the only film that kind of focuses on this stuff is like Ant-Man and the Wasp and Black Widow, which I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is the closest to exploring the Sokovia Accords. Like, how did the Sokovia Accords affect these characters in a way? Ant-Man and the Wasp was probably the best way to do it. Black Widow was kind of a waste of it. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if I would have loved to see a project as to like, how would the Sokovia Accords get solved? I don't know. That's just me. Granted, we're getting a lot more projects, so we might be getting something with Spider-Man for Daredevil Born Again, the Punisher series. I even heard that it might focus in Captain America 4. I don't know. I just hope that they actually explain this a bit better in the other series and movies that they have planned. And to be clear, I am interested to see what they're going to do with Nick Fury in the Marvels. I'm excited to see what that's going to do. So, and everybody was saying, like, when we saw Nick Fury in that spaceship with all the Skrulls, we were thinking that's going to be a big part of Secret Invasion. But then when you see the Marvels trailers, you start to realize, oh wait, the Saber spaceship is a big part for Captain Marvel 2. So I'm like, that's kind of interesting. So that's kind of my big, that's pretty much all my issues. Overall, I thought it was a good episode. Not the best one, but it was a sort of good conclusion. Even the whole Gaia Sonya bit, I kind of enjoyed. Not sure where it's leading. I have a theory though, which we'll talk about in the theories part. But overall, that's my thoughts. Before I give my final score, be sure to comment down below. What were your thoughts on Secret Invasion Episode 6? Home. Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate? Where in between? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. And with that said, let's get on my scores.